All right, this is Srini, the host and co-founder of Blogcast FM. I am here at Blogworld LA 2011 in the booth of our new sponsor, Livefire, and I am talking to a guy who really needs no introduction, Darren Rowse from ProBlogger. How's it going, Darren?
Yeah, very well. Enjoying Blogworld. Yeah.
Well, you really are kind of one of the veterans of this industry. I mean, when most of us think about blogging, it's almost like we could put a name, we might even look you up in the dictionary if you looked up blogger, and we could have a picture of your face next to it. This industry has changed so much. You and I were talking about it the other night, from where it was when you started to what it is now. I mean, it's really kind of evolved. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I started in 2002, and I thought I was late to blogging. I thought, well, there's all these big blogs around already, and how could anyone break into it? But yeah, things have changed so much. Back then, if you talked about making money from your blog, you were kind of seen as a bit of an outcast from the community. I mean, who would make money from a blog? And now we're sitting in an expo hall where there's hundreds of companies who are pitching bloggers to be sponsors, who have technologies to help them to grow Livefire. So it's fantastic. It's really exciting, but things have changed heaps. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I mean, in the time since you've started, obviously, millions of blogs have sprouted up, and this is something I've been asking everybody that I've been able to talk to. In a world where there's so much noise, like never before, what is it that makes somebody stand out in your mind? I know you mentioned a couple of things in your presentation about certain blogs that you read, even though you have no interest in the subject, which I thought was really fascinating.
So one of the things that I was talking about yesterday in the keynote was that if you blog with passion, that's contagious. So if you really want to grow a blog of engaged readers, you need to be engaged with your topic. And there's a blog in Australia, written by a guy called Chris Hunter, Bike Exif. He writes about motorbikes, older motorbikes, and he has these beautiful pictures of the bikes, and he writes with such passion about it that I read it, even though I have no interest in motorbikes at all. There's something about the way he writes that he's just passionate about. He loves them, and I think that is contagious, and that will draw people in. It's just one of the aspects, but yesterday we talked about telling stories. I think that is also something that creates memories in your readers, so telling stories, sharing yourself in a personal way, blogging from the heart is probably part of it. Yeah.
Well, it's funny you bring up the whole idea of storytelling, and I always say, to me, one of the things that I've always said is if you've hit a fear of pushing publish, then you've probably just written a masterpiece. There's a good chance, because it's so personal. And I always say, if what you've written is not going to have some sort of an impact or generate any response, then why would you care about what you've just written so much?
Yeah. I mean, they're the posts that people remember the most, and just someone came up before and remembered a video that I put up, and it was a personal one, and I kind of thought, should I or shouldn't I? But yeah, they go well. Yeah.
What do you see as sort of trends in the blogosphere in terms of how we're creating content and where things are going to go in terms of the stuff that's going on right now?
Yeah, I see a lot of syndication going on, which kind of worries me a little bit, seeing the same stuff go up in so many places. I'm almost tempted to go the opposite and make things even more exclusive. I don't know. It's kind of weird seeing so many companies now involved in the process of using your content or helping you create content. I worry if some of that personal aspect of it's going, and maybe that's an opportunity for bloggers to go back a bit. So yeah, it's I don't quite know where things are going on that front. Yeah.
In terms of growing a blog and growing traffic, I mean, there's a lot of things, people have certain strategies and things, but I'm guessing how you do that has probably evolved so much in the time, since you've been doing it. Any thoughts around that?
Yeah, I mean, the early days, the number one thing people tried to do was leave comments on other blogs and get on other people's blog rolls. I don't know that there's too many blog rolls around anymore, or if anyone even looks at them. But these days I think it's much more about getting yourself out there and positioning yourself in the kind of social networks or the offline networks where your potential readers are gathering. That's certainly what I'm trying to do, is get inside the head of my reader or potential reader and try and work out how they use the web and how I can position myself in those places. So.
So one last question for you. I mean, you run a bunch of different things now. I mean, you've really evolved from blogger to true entrepreneur with this stuff. And I know you were telling us a little bit about, the number of writers. What goes into logistically managing all of the things that you do, and how, if people want to grow from blog to business? I know you mentioned having a business plan, but beyond that, any advice on how to sort of make that transition and kind of your own experience with managing all of what you do? Because I know you have such a huge presence now.
Yeah, so for me, I for a long time tried to hold on to do it all, but after a while I realised I just kind of hit a ceiling as to how much I could achieve with the blogs that I had, and particularly having a couple of blogs that were doing reasonably well it was difficult to manage it all. So I pretty much made a list of all the things that I do and all the roles in my company that I was fulfilling, and started to sort of circle around clusters of them to work out what could I get someone else to do. And some of that was outsourcing it to a contractor, some of it was hiring someone. But yeah, I guess the revenue for my company was at a point where I could do that. In the early days, I did occasionally swap skills with people. I think that's probably a good way to outsource for if you're just starting out. There's something you can do easily and quickly. Find someone else who needs that skill and get them to do something for you. That's how I got early designs of my blogs, is swapping those skills barter.
Yeah, no, it's funny you mentioned that. We just redesigned our Blogcast FM site, and I told the girl who designed it, I said, look, I have a network of contacts, all who contact me for design work. I can't pay you with my money, but I can send you people who can, and I'll do it in exchange for design. And it was I think exchanging skills and identifying people who don't share your same skills or who can complement what you're doing is really a powerful way to grow a network.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there comes a point where you do have to pay if you want quick turnarounds and if you want, certain skills. But I think bloggers helping each other, finding win-win relationships is certainly a way to get a head start. Yeah.
Well, anything in particular in terms of sessions you've sat in on? I know you've sat in on a few. What have been some of your favorites and things that have been standouts to you here at Blogworld?
Yeah, probably the one yesterday that I went to. I went to Amy Porterfield's session on Facebook pages, and to be honest, I went there more because it was Amy, and I like Amy, and we kind of like to connect at these things. But I came away with so many action items, things that I knew I should do, and I've always known I should do them, but coming to a conference like this, you're kind of forced to think, okay, I need to act on this now. Even as a professional blogger, there's so many things that you can implement today that will have payoffs for years to come. And so, sitting in that session was really valuable. Yeah.
I think you make a great point about taking action towards things. I think that's where a lot of people get tripped up, because they spend all their time reading all these great ideas. And I think really, if you did one thing every single day, I mean, I've gone through a lot of your archives, and some of my best things that I've come up with, one by one, just by doing one thing every day, has caused, I think because there's a delayed gratification with all of this, and people don't see the result immediately, and we have to keep that in mind.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many small to medium-sized things that you can do that have long-term payoffs. And I know a lot of bloggers they know that they should create their own product or their own ebook or something like that, but they think, oh, that's a one-day thing. If you do it now, that can have a long tail effect on your blog. Setting up an email newsletter list is something that a lot of bloggers, I should be collecting email addresses of my readers, I'll do that one day. But you start doing that now, even if you're just getting 1 or 2 emails a day, over a year, that's hundreds of contacts that you have to build your network. So those little things have long-term payoffs. Yeah. Well,
Darren, thanks so much for taking the time to join us. I really appreciate you sharing some of your insights.
No problem. It's great to see you.